Good morning and welcome. Thank you for making some time to be with us today. We're looking forward to walking you through some ideas and suggestions for making some events a little bit more interesting and engaging, especially focusing on the registration process this month. So let's dive in and take a look at the plan. So for the next 45 minutes, we want to walk you through a few key points to help you understand and get more from that event registration experience. And our focus is really going to be in-person events. So they could be webinars, of course, that's obviously another type of event, but our focus today is the in-person type of event, typically those events we see happening around this time of year with client parties and different events, etc., that typically take place. So thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you being here. We want to focus, first of all, on Eloqua as a communication tool. And I'll expand on that by telling you it's not just marketing automation, but more. And we'll talk about what that means and how I define that. Looking at how there could be user communities within your organization for Eloqua, but beyond the marketing team. That may well be the case in some of your organizations today, but if not, just want to provide you with some ideas and some thoughts. Then the fun part will be as we dive into Eloqua, looking at creating a fun and more engaging registration experience. And we're going to show you some examples of events, different campaigns that we've run and how we've changed that registration process based on those. One of those is, funnily enough, is a webinar, but it's the registration experience I want to share with you. And then another is actually looking at some form functionality and campaign details of a campaign that we ran. So I'll walk you through that as well. And then also looking at automating reminders that really we can just simply send reminders, or maybe we can make it a bit more fun and a bit more engaging for people. So let's dive in and have a look. We use Zoom to host our host and record our sessions. So you'll be able to access all of those via our blog after the webinar. And please feel free to ask questions as we go throughout. So the Q&A is active, and I hope you'll throw some questions at me as we go through. You can also upvote them. So if you see any other questions that maybe is the same as yours, go ahead and upvote it. If you'd rather use the chat for a more private question, you can also do that, whichever is easiest for you. So my name is Derek Bell. I'm your host for today, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Customer Success here at Marketing Cube. And I'm joined on the line by our CEO, Adrian, who's helping me out this morning to answer some of those questions. So keep him busy and funnel those questions through. Okay, this was a question from Lisa, which was actually from last month. And she asked about lead scoring and how to set that up and what the process is and could we help? And so the answer, of course, is yes, we can. That's not a problem. We have a whole range of services that we offer to support Eloqua users in the creation of lead score models, and whether that be an engagement scoring model, maybe you're looking to use lead scoring for other purposes besides specifically just lead scoring. There are other ways you can use lead scoring. So if that's something that's pressing or on your mind, we'd love to have a chat. So please feel free to reach out. Now, first point. Eloqua is more than just lead generation and nurturing. And if we're kind of honest, I suppose, when you look at Eloqua and what it does, and maybe going right back to when the decision was first made at your organization to purchase Eloqua, I wonder what that original motivation was. Was it specifically for lead generation, lead nurturing, onboarding campaigns, perhaps? Did you consider customer communications? By customer, I mean those who are actually paying you for your products or services, or members of your association, or students enrolled at a university, for example. Was that the objective? I wonder. It can be for some. It's different for everybody, I suppose. But generally speaking, a lot of it has to do with lead management. But as far as the email is concerned, where certainly the evidence is in, and we keep seeing this year on year, and it certainly seems to just continue to be the case, that email really is the top communication tool for businesses. And there's a whole list of reasons why. One, I think certainly from a person-to-person point of view, it's economical, it's immediate, we love it, all right? It's just part of what we do. From a marketing point of view, it also is a very cost-effective way of reaching people. And with all of the technology that we have available, and you as an Eloqua client will understand this, that you can be very targeted and very specific and offer more tailored types of communications than you can perhaps using other channels. So email is a clear winner. There's no doubt to that one. And this is an article that I found from the American Genius magazine, which is the pulse of today's entrepreneur. So in here, David Rowe from talks about a study, the future of digital communication. And in there, the findings that he went through, and the link to this full article will be available in the blog post as well, which I'd encourage you to have a look at. It's quite interesting reading. But the findings showed 74% of people chose email as their preferred method of communication. And 89% email at least once every month for business or for personal reasons. And now for you and I on this call, I'm sure we do it more than once a month. Probably do it every day, maybe once an hour is probably a better stat for us. But the reason I wanted to share that with you is just to reinforce that email is the right tool. And for you as a marketer, and certainly for us here at Marketing Cube, when we look at the bulk of the work that we do and the people that we're trying to reach out to is largely prospects, those people who are looking potentially to procure our services, and it's working with our customers. So those people who are on board, who we're invoicing for services, etc. They're typically the two primary groups that we're talking to. However, beyond those, there are other audiences that many of our organizations have to work with on a pretty regular basis. And this is part of what I wanted to try and get across today, when I'd say that Eloqua is not just simply a marketing automation tool, but it's really a communication tool. And so if you have other people within your organization who are maybe taking care of staff communications, typically human resources, right? Maybe shareholders, maybe there's a division within the business. That's all they do is communicate with shareholders. Other stakeholders, vendors, suppliers, if we're in universities, it's alumni, or even in some larger companies, usually HR take care of alumni type of campaigns, reaching out to past employees. It could be partners, it could be agents, and then in the bottom left there, I've said anyone. Excuse me. So by that, I mean, yeah, anyone really. Anyone with an email address is a potential audience and someone for you to talk to. The final point I wanted to get across here is around internal communications. And this is a document that I'll share with you via the blog post, which will be available middle of next week at this stage. And this is a great document that Oracle have put together to just give you an idea about how Eloqua could be used for internal communications. And for larger organizations, that's definitely the case. You've probably got potentially thousands of employees, and Eloqua is a great tool to help you do that. And there are some other considerations, and I'll talk more about those here in just a moment as we look at that process. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one in the blog post. All right, so looking at Eloqua beyond the marketing team and understanding how Eloqua really can support multiple user types. Now, in most organizations, the user profiles typically are an administrator and kind of simple level users that can kind of do everything. They can build emails, launch campaigns, forms, upload contacts, download contacts, upload external activities, those sorts of things. Most companies deal with that pretty much. Larger organizations, though, will take advantage of some of the other flexibility or the flexibility that exists within Eloqua to have different types of user profiles. So if you have an expanded audience, which is what I was kind of implying with these groups of people that you can see on the screen, that would suggest there's probably an expanding user community within your organization. So who is it within your organization that spends most of their time talking to shareholders, for example? Or who is it that spends most of their time communicating with vendors, for example? If there are other people within the organization, there's certainly a role to look at using Eloqua to help do that communicating. It can easily be achieved, and user profiles can be developed to make that really easy. Now, your goal as marketers, as I said earlier, typically focuses on this area of customers and prospects. So that's where your domain is. And part of you might be thinking, well, hang on, Derek, I really don't want to have other members of the company wandering around Eloqua and potentially messing things up. That's okay. The profiles and the user profiles that you can create within Eloqua can be quite granular. Okay, so you might have someone whose only ability when they log into Eloqua, the only thing they can do is build an email. That's it. They don't even see forms. They don't see campaigns. They don't even see contacts. That all they see is basically the email design editor, and that's it. So you can definitely control that. And typically, when we start to look at building profiles, it's easier to understand what a person can't do than what they are available or can do. I'll expand on that here in just a moment for you. What you don't want your users or new users to be able to do is the easier way to go about the process. So typically, in my experience, when we go through this discussion with a client, it's they don't want other users or some users to be able to launch a campaign. They don't want them to be able to download or upload contacts. That's often from a security point of view. They're probably the big ones. Then it comes down to really the editors. So can they see the email editor? Can they see the landing page and the form editor, etc.? Those three typically are a yes. Campaign, maybe they can see the campaign, maybe they can edit a campaign, but they can't actually activate the campaign. So we can be reasonably granular in that process, and we can build an ideal profile for users beyond the marketing team that gives you peace of mind that they're not going to email the entire database with something. That's the first thing, but they're not going to mess up other things. So they'll only see what they're able to access or what they build. So the key thing from your point of view to help speed that process with them is to think about templates. Okay, so templates, content blocks, all of those things will really help them build on-brand assets, and that really will make a difference. So I'm sure you've had to do this. You've probably been given a brief by someone randomly within the business. Hey, we need to get this email out. Can you guys take care of it? You're like, yeah, okay, I'll fit that into my schedule. And then you go backwards and forwards. You create the email, you send it to them as a test. They come back with feedback. You make the changes, and that process just repeats too many times, right? Becomes a time killer. Why not potentially? Hopefully, your organization's open to the idea. Why not hand that over to them directly? Let them build their email. It's pretty simple. You've got to admit, the design editor is a pretty elegant, pretty simple tool to use. It's not complicated. And it's pretty flexible in relation to what it has to do. And of course, it's HTML free. So that's the key thing, right? They don't have to touch any HTML in order for that to happen. So I throw that to you as an idea and a suggestion. And things can be confidential too. So that's the other thing I should point out is that let's say it's HR, for example, and they will need all of the employees to be sitting in the system. That makes perfect sense. But they don't want you potentially being able to see all of those staff contacts. That's okay. We can make sure all they see are the staff contacts and you can't see the staff contacts. So there are ways that we can go through that process and setting up what's called security labels to help in that process. Lots of flexibility, essentially. All right, so the fun part of today is me wanting to share with you some of the campaigns that we've done and show you a little bit around some form functionality, largely forms, because it's forms really where all of this magic stuff kind of and fun stuff kind of happens. It really begins with looking at, I suppose, this end of year process and trying to figure out, well, what can we do that is a little bit more fun and a little bit more engaging and a bit more interesting? So what does fun look like? Well, if we look at an event, which is our focus today, and specifically a in-person event or an in-person event, there's typically three chunks to that process. There's information and confirmation, there's the reminder emails, and then there's potentially comms that happen on the day at the venue. We could add post-event comms, but I just kind of want to focus on this registration experience at this point. So first one is the invitations that go out. And you may have a perfect number that you like for invitations. I find 3 works really well. And these invitations, no one person in my example would get more than 2 invitations. It's just that the second and third invitation are presented slightly differently based on those who open or don't open the first one. So that's how we choose to run the process here at Marketing Cube. From there, you're going to direct them to a registration page. And on that registration page will be a form that they'll need to complete. And then, of course, a confirmation page at the same time. And, adding things like add to calendar straight to confirmation pages is a great idea. I would always repeat them in the confirmation email as well. But having them in both is great. You just want people to get it in the calendar. As long as they can get that event into their calendar, you have a far greater chance of getting them to attend on the day. So then come the reminders. Now, the language I use is reminders only go to people who have, in fact, registered for the event. So you'll notice on the far left, I don't refer to it as first invitation and then reminders. It's first, second, and third invitation, just so I'm crystal clear on what that is. And then the reminders. And of course, you might want to mix up a little bit of SMS in there, text messaging for people as well. If something, there are other options too, I suppose, that you can activate from the campaign canvas. WhatsApp is one that you can activate from the campaign canvas as well. So depending on the type of comms that you've got and the information you've got about people, that's another way to do it. And then the last step, or the third step, is on the day. So here we are, we're at the hotel, we're at the venue, whatever the venue may be. And maybe it's that final SMS reminder in the morning on the day of the event saying, hey, looking forward to seeing you. The event kicks off at 10 a.m. Here's a link to Google Maps, which will take you directly to the venue, etc. And maybe also provide details about closest car parks or train stations, bus stations, those sorts of things that may be close to the venue as well. So there are all sorts of other options. Now, where can some of the fun come into the process? Well, the fun can probably start with the emails in relation to maybe how they look and the language that you use to convey what the event is all about. In this case, we're looking at sort of end of year Christmas party or end of year events, etc., those sorts of things. But on the registration page and the form specifically, that's where we can create some fun and some magic in relation to the type of questions that we ask, and then what we do as in response to those questions or those answers that we get from people. From a confirmation page, don't limit yourself to a single confirmation page, because it may well be, based on the responses that you get from people from the registration, that multiple confirmation pages could be required or could be beneficial. You may use dynamic content, you may use custom object data to personalize a single confirmation page, but there are other options for you to play with. The other one to think about is microsites, and I'll talk about that here in a moment in just a bit more detail. Then the other one to play around with is the confirmation email. So the confirmation email is hot because it's that one email that most of us get a really good open rate on, and usually a really good click-through rate, especially if you have things like add to calendar added to those sorts of things. But there's no reason why links to Google Maps, etc., and those sorts of things can't be included. Now, the idea of the microsite becomes paramount, I think, and as a central communication tool when you think about this process. And hang on, I'll expand on that here in just a moment for you. Now, the SMS reminder, again, is another one. So I typically, if I'm sending 2 reminders to people and I offer an SMS reminder, the first reminder is email that goes to everybody. The second reminder will go email for those who don't have or haven't provided a cell phone number. But for those who have provided a cell phone number and have requested an SMS, you've got that functionality to do that. And then you can mix that up and also use it for the reminders on the day as well. And just keep in mind as well that SMS can be a two-way construct. It doesn't have to simply be a broadcast platform. You can have SMS configured where you can pose a question to somebody. Let's say it's just confirmed, it's now, let's say it's 9 o'clock on the day. Final reminder, we kick off at 10 a.m. today. Just confirming that you will be joining us. Please respond with a yes or no, something like that, if you feel that would be helpful for some other benefit to capture. And that can be a two-way. So if you get a yes, you can then go back to, thank you, Mary, thank you, John, thank you, Fred. We look forward to seeing you. Again, here's the link to Google Maps. We'll look forward to seeing you around 10 o'clock today. And if someone says no, then maybe you can provide them with something else. So you can think a little bit further ahead, maybe create a specific landing page that you can then provide a link to from the SMS to that landing page. And maybe you have some information there that maybe they would have got if they'd come to the event, but sadly they're not, but you want to get some information over to them anyway. So think about that two-way text messaging construct as well as a more fun and more engaging way to reach people. Now, the other one I wanted to add here is the QR code scan, right? So I think most of us have become very familiar with the concept of scanning QR codes. They're kind of prolific, certainly in our market, and we're seeing it much the same in Europe and certainly across the US as well. And so, from an event point of view, imagine being able to send a confirmation email directly from Eloqua, and that email contains a unique QR code that is specific to that individual. That's all we can do. So Marketing Cube has developed an app that enables you to do that. It's a tremendous, tremendous app. We love it. Our clients love it. We've had clients using it in a range of different applications, and it's pretty simple. There's not much that you need to do in order to make that happen. If you want to understand more about that, please reach out to Adrian. You can chat with him or send him a message. But there will also be further details on our blog that you'll be able to have a look at in more detail. The other scenario with QR code is first one was when the confirmation email goes out, you include a QR code. So then your staff and event team can greet people simply by using the QR code scanner on their mobile phone. They don't need a special app in order to do that. It's just the standard scanner that's on most phones. The other option is when people arrive, you have multiple posters around the room at the check-in counters with the QR code where people will scan the QR code. And at minimum, they just need to provide their email address, hopefully the same one they used when they booked or registered with you. And Eloqua does the rest in the back end. That does a blind form and takes care of everything. And you now have absolute clarity as to who actually showed up on the day versus holding name cards and all that sort of stuff at the end of events, which we've all done multiple times. Think a microsite, not just one page. So that's what I mean by that event registration page. Don't be limited to thinking that it just has to be a single page with a form and a confirmation page. What you could do is look at a microsite where the registration sign-up page is just that. It's a page with a form. But the confirmation page could, in fact, be a microsite. And I'll show you an example of one here. And so that's helpful because you can then convey information from a pre-event point of view on the day and also post-event content as well. So that those pages can obviously be updated and refreshed as you see fit. It's a great tool, and you've got it right there in Eloqua today. There's nothing special you need to do about it. And in fact, you experience it every time you register for the user group each month. So you may or may not have noticed when you hit the confirmation page, you come to a section and it says, thank you for registering, Mary or John. You'll see information in your inbox with details, etc. There's an add to calendar there, but it's actually this page that you can see on the screen right now. And you can actually reach that microsite if you have two screens right now and you've got a browser open on the other one. Just type in myeloqua.com. If you type in myeloqua.com, you'll be brought to the Marketing Cube homepage for the Eloqua user group, which is an entire Eloqua landing page microsite that's been developed. So we just purchased the URL. We pointed that URL to the Eloqua landing page URL, simple stuff, and that's it. So it's nice and easy. So imagine if you've got an event that you run on a regular basis, or it's this annual event that you're running for around the Christmas season or the festive season, then go and buy a domain. I mean, it might cost you $20, right? They're not expensive. And just redirect it. Have it redirected to an Eloqua landing page. Then you can use that nice, slick little URL in your marketing to direct people to as well, which is kind of cool. So the other point I wanted to make there was the microsite, because it can be hyper-personalized, it really becomes a centralized communication point. And it can be used, as I said before, on the day and also post-event. So it becomes a great tool. And because it's live, you can update it at any point that you feel you need to. So one fun part for you is, have you tried any of these before in relation to any events that you've run? So these might seem a bit silly. Remember, the idea here today is to create a fun experience, right? So imagine if you asked somebody their coffee choice or their beverage choice, and you actually had it available for them when they arrived at the venue. That would be kind of cool. Probably easier with a smaller boutique audience than a cast of 2,000 people at a conference. What about selecting their favorite merchandise? Maybe you guys do some amazing merchandise. People love it. It's kind of cool, great brand, etc. Ask them what their preferred merchandise is at the point of registration, and maybe have that available for them when they check in on the day. We talked about SMS reminders. Dietary requirements is always a really important thing. If there's food, maybe not so much fun, but it certainly won't be fun if you get it wrong. So it's a good thing to ask people. Travel choices, giving people options about what's the best way to get to the venue. We had a law firm, or have a law firm here in Australia who was a client, and they had to take several hundred partners off to an annual conference, which was an off-site meeting and planning and all that sort of fun stuff. And in amongst that I think it was a 3-day conference, there was a sort of a key event that they could attend. And in fact, there were four, and they had to choose between one, two, three, or four. So we captured all of that information at the point of registration. And some of those events, in fact, had caps as well. So they had limited numbers. Some were fine. I imagine probably there was golf, and golf is fine. You can have a cast of thousands attend a golf game. That's no drama. But some of the others were capped. And so they're able to use Eloqua to help them manage that process, to make sure none of the partners were disappointed because their choices weren't captured. So you can imagine how fun that would be. But the other one is to think about presenting polls at the point of registration. So ask people specific questions, and then take that information and either tailor their confirmation email with the information they've provided you, but also maybe use that on the day at the conference itself. That's another way to tie that registration experience to the day. Self-check-in via QR code. So we talked about that one a little bit earlier as well. If you're doing Christmas hampers, which is something we do pretty reasonably or fairly often here in Australia, is to then maybe deliver a slightly different Christmas hamper based on some sort of silly, random, obscure question. And I'll share an example here with you as to what I mean by that. Then maybe another opportunity is if you want to think, so this question is thinking more further ahead, I suppose, into the year. And so if you wanted to think about major sponsorships that you may do as an organization, maybe your organization sponsors the ballet, or maybe it's F1 car racing, maybe it's sailing, whatever it is, if you can find out which of your clients actually have an interest in those things, they become a great audience, obviously, for the next event that you want to run that is wrapped around one of those particular types of events. So Margaret, thank you. Margaret has a question. To capture the capped events, did you use the Eloqua events module with the automatic waitlist, or did you use the campaign canvas with the capped option? So it was a combination, Margaret, thank you. It was a combination of, let me start. It wasn't the event module. It was using Eloqua forms and a custom object and a little bit of magic to manage that cap process, essentially. So what happens there is, as it reaches a point where the cap is reached, I think it's the landing page experience changes, and people are dropped into a wait list, and we use a shared list construct to hold those people. But yeah, if you wanted to understand more about that, again, we can have Adrian reach out to you and share that information and give you an idea as to how we could help you with that. Okay, so the final one before we jump into Eloqua is thinking about those reminder emails or SMSs. And so here I just wanted to slot in a couple of examples and things for you to think about that could be helpful to people versus just simply sending an email. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the venue. Okay, obviously, let's make sure we include the venue details, the address, and so on and so forth. Maybe even a link to the venue. So if it's a Hilton hotel, let's provide a link to the Hilton hotel, because the person may want, for whatever reason, maybe they want to stay there. Maybe it's an overnight thing for them. Maybe they're traveling or they're driving quite a ways, etc. Provide Google Map links, all those sorts of things. But also think about tailoring your reminders on information that you know about the person. Maybe you know where they're from, you know where their home state is. Could there be imagery to support that? You know which industry they're in. Maybe they've signed up for specific sessions at the event that you're hosting. So think about how you can tailor those reminder emails in a bit of a nicer, bit more fun way. The SMS and text reminders, again, think about URLs for SMS. Obviously, shortened URLs is what you want to do. And remember that SMS is really a two-way, or can be a two-way conversation. Maybe it's reseeking confirmation of attendance, those sorts of things. There's a whole swag of options for you to play with. But the fun part, let's dive in and have a look at some examples that we've got for you. Okay. So first one I wanted to share with you, this was actually a webinar that we held. You can see the date there, July 2020. So hopefully there's not too much PTSD there for people. But here we are, middle of pandemic. Everyone's working from home, certainly in this country at least, and we're going nowhere. And there are no in-person events happening, etc. So we wanted to get an intimate group of our key clients together, sort of our CMO, marketing director type audience. And we thought, what can we do to make it a bit more fun versus just another webinar? Because at this point, by July, people were already starting to be webinared out, right? So we sent an email inviting them to come along to this particular webinar with the promise of something special. They arrived here, a little bit of information about what the topic was that we're going to discuss, etc. This form is pretty simple. What we're asking for is an RSVP, and someone will say yes or no. I'm going to say yes in this example. And for this audience, for this webinar, they would have either been in Australia or New Zealand for this particular webinar. So that was the extent of the questioning at that point. Now, if they said no, they went off to a specific landing page and said, look, thanks for letting us know you can't make it. We'll get some information to you and we'll be in touch shortly. So it was kind of game over at that point. However, if they said yes and they said they're in Australia, then we took them to a specific page. And that's what this page is here. We had to be really clear because we didn't want them to just automatically close this one out of habit, because this was the critical one as well. And the critical point was that we needed to understand their hamper choice. So we presented them with an option of, would you like a sweet hamper with a bottle of white wine? And then you can kind of read the other options there. No one selected the last option, by the way. Everyone selected one of the first four. So as soon as they select that, we then, with a little bit of coding in the form, it drops down to request their home address details or office. Now, I think most people at this point were still working at home. And so this obviously we were a little bit unsure about it, because it's unusual that we would want to ask customers their home address. It's just kind of like, you don't go there, right? That's very personal. But the world was a bit different in July 2020, and we obviously have a good relationship with our customers. They gave us that information. We then took that information, passed it on to our hamper partners, and got that out. That's the only reason we had New Zealand and Australia separate, was because we had two hamper companies. And so we used a range of imagery and confirmation emails to deliver a slightly different experience. And so that's why the two countries. So that was one thing to think about. So you'll notice there, something that you may not have done before is present a form and then have a confirmation page, in fact, have another form on it, okay? So it can be done. There's no reason why you can't do it. The main reason we opted for the two was because we didn't want this initial form to be huge, which it would be with all of the address information. Plus, for those people who were RSVPing no, there seemed to really be no point in us presenting them with this huge form when in fact they didn't need to answer any of those questions. So that's one example. So this is what it looks like in Eloqua. It's just a standard form. It's just a design editor. There's nothing super special about it. You can see right there. So yeah, it's all a code-free environment, as you would expect. Now, the next one I wanted to share relates to the questions that you're going to ask. So when you're asking questions, that typically means you're going to have to start with pick lists, okay? So pick lists where you present the different questions to people in their forms. So the fun one I want to show you is, and you're going to think we're crazy for doing this, but we asked in a particular campaign, for the purposes of showing dynamic content, We asked people what their preferred beverage was. And so you can see we came up with quite a list of preferred beverages for people to choose from. And if there's a particular movie that you may or may not be familiar with, we even have orange mocha frappuccino. So if you know what movie that's from, feel free to let me know in the chat, and that would be fun. All right, so we come up with all these questions. Now, a couple of points: option value, option name. Option value, you'll notice we've had all in lowercase. Now, the reason for that is we wanted to be able to merge that response and put it into the landing page, confirmation page, and also into the email. So sometimes I'll see people uploading option values as codes. Okay, sometimes you kind of need to do that. I appreciate, but try and avoid where possible, and think about where you're going to do the field merge to. So something for you to be aware of: if you are field merging, the field merge comes from the option value, not the option name. The option name is what appears in the drop-down pick list. Let me show you. So this is the landing page that people came to. And here we ask them a range of different questions. And here you will see the beverages. So notice here they're in proper case. So capital A, capital J, for example, as you go through. And we asked them a range of different questions. We asked them to choose their own adventure. So there were 3 options for them to choose from. Then we asked them their favorite beverage or their preferred beverage, and then also which best describes their organization, with a few prompts. We had 4 categories there for them to choose from. And so then once they went through that process, they filled in that particular form. Now I've got too many windows open. I wanted to show you the form. So, and I've got some points here that I prepared earlier. I thought this might make it a little bit easier from a notes point of view. So what are you offering? So that's the pick list scenario. So first of all, work out what is it you're offering, what is the question you're presenting, and what are the possible answers, right? So the answers become your pick list. So we need to create the pick list, and we need to add the pick list to the form. And so here's our silly beverage list, as you can see right here, contained within the form. The key thing then is to understand, what am I going to do with that information? It obviously will stay in the form, but you can't do anything with it, right? You can't personalize, you can't alter content, dynamic content. You can't do any of that if it's just sitting in the form. You have to put it somewhere. And you have 2 options, really. You normally have a few more, but the real ones are the contact and a custom object. Now, in this example, we chose to update a custom object with relevant information. And so there's the 3 questions, etc., are stored on a custom object that we call campaign content. Now, because it's sitting there and it's available, that can drive dynamic content, and I can also create field merges with that information as well. And so that's what you see here. So this is the confirmation page. Now, if I actually have a look at this page live, so I've got here, so this is dynamic content that you're looking at right here, the image of the coffee. By asking what your preferred beverage was, we can use your response to present a matching image, which is what you can see there on this page, as well as include it here in the copy of this page, e.g. your preferred beverage. That's right. So my default, if I didn't have a response, was your preferred beverage. But if somebody had said that latte was their preferred beverage, then here it would say, e.g. latte, and also in the email that we've just sent you. Okay, so you can see that here. That's where the field merge is, and the dynamic content. So the dynamic content lists all of these. Now, I tell you what, it took us a lot of time to find all of the appropriate images to go with all of these very specific types of beverages that you can see. I think the only one we had was flat white. I think it was flat white and cappuccino were the same. Couldn't find 2 different images, and I didn't think anyone would probably really notice. So cappuccino and flat white were exactly the same thing. What I'm trying to show you there is that in that process of creating a registration form, that you really can have quite a bit of fun, and you can really hyper personalize. This audience that I was talking to for this campaign were people just like you, marketers, And so what I was trying to demonstrate was just some of that functionality that is available. And it's interesting, not all marketing automation platforms can do what I've just showed you. There are certainly a number of them on the market that can't do this. They can't take information from a form that a person has provided and then immediately personalize the confirmation page. So as Eloqua users, I think we kind of get spoiled. We just basically do all these things all the time and they're available to us, right? But yeah, not all marketers are able to do this. So have some fun with it. Use this stuff to delight the customer and give them a really fun experience. And it also shows, I think, to a large degree that you're listening. If someone has shared something with you specifically, then you're able to provide them with a response. And whether it's a visual or whatever it is, you can let them know that you're actually listening to what you're talking about. So dynamic content, and that piece of dynamic content, by the way, we designed and created that in such a way that that image fits perfectly here on the landing page. And we use the exact same piece of dynamic content in the email as well, the confirmation email that went with this particular campaign. Hopefully that helps and gives you a little bit of motivation and some ideas, and just to kind of show you what's possible and just some of the things to think about. One of the key things to think about in that process is number 4 here, which is, where will you store the data? If you want to use it to field merge or drive dynamic content, it has to go on the contact or a custom object. And now which one is more of a strategic discussion than anything else, but have a think about that one. Last thing I really wanted to show you there was just this point about the QR code. If you, again, as I said, it will be on the blog post, but if you're interested and you want to have a look today, go ahead and scan that. It'll take you to a page on our website, and you'll see information about the QR code there. And there's an example actually from one of our clients as well, who's using the QR code scanner today and the experience that they've had and why they love it. So release 24D is due November, middle of November. The key piece of information that we know already is that Redwood, the Redwood experience and interface that you saw just now, will be the default experience. So if you're not using Redwood today and you're still a little bit unsure, if you've got your smartphone handy, just scan that QR code right there. It'll take you to a landing page with a very quick video. It literally goes for, I think, a minute and a half. And it shows you how to turn Redwood on. Very simple process. So we don't know more about we don't know more about release 24D until my coming Friday, which will be your Thursday. And at which point the Eloqua product team will provide us with a brief and an overview for the final release for 2024. But I will be able to get that information into the blog post. So if you missed the webinar from Oracle, I'll find that you will find that information on our blog, which will be available in the middle of next week. Now, the most important thing for today is to confirm details for next month, Wednesday, the 13th of November. So we're a little bit later in the month. Normally we're in the first week, this is the second week of the month. And also notice that time change, okay? So big thing, we've gone from 10 a.m. Will now be 3:30 p.m. Eastern. So 3:30 p.m. New York time on Wednesday, the 13th of November. Main reason for the change is that Australia, our part of the world, is going into summertime. Next month, you stay in summertime. And then in the following month, I think you're out of summertime and we're in summertime. So yeah, there's a bit of change happening, but I'm going to try and stick to that. It'll either be 3:30 or maybe 2:30 Eastern by the time we get to December. But next month, November, Wednesday the 13th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Margaret, for throwing the question in. Greatly appreciated. We'll reach out to you with a bit more information if you like to help on that one. And otherwise, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for making some time, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.